our next steps are, and what action item we can all agree to take as a position on behalf of the commission. So, Lisa, did you have something that you wanted to say about that?
Sorry. Well, there's something I'd like to propose. Is this a good time?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you're on mute again.
Agreed, Lisa, absolutely.
According to my phone, I'm not on mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a step that I wanted to ask that we consider, and that is to immediately contract with an equal employment opportunity expert to analyze this process as far as we know it now, and report on whether it is a good process that should be used for the selection of key appointments in a critical sector like policing. I think I know what the answer is, but I'm not an expert in this area. I'm an employer, and I pay attention to this stuff, and I go to legal seminars on what we're supposed to be doing, and my understanding is we're not supposed to do stuff like this. But I do think that for the commission to be advised about best practices and risk areas for implicit bias could put us in a position to provide very helpful feedback, not only on what just happened and what exactly may have gone wrong, but on principles that should be applied in the future. And I feel like this is an important area for us to weigh in, because I'm at kind of the absolute outside limit on how much I can hear about employment practices and implicit bias. I, like some of the rest of you, served on the OPA and IG search process, and we had, a long training, and I know that the chief search committee also had a long training on guarding against implicit bias, and then they ran a process that is wide open to bias and appears to have been substantially affected by it. And I think we can no longer participate as if we can't see that. So if in fact, in terms of legal best practices, this is falling far outside of what is appropriate, I think that's an incredibly important thing for us to point out. It is kind of like the minimum that we need to consider doing. I don't think we're equipped to do it without having an expert advise us.
Okay, Jay?
I agree with that, Lisa. And then the other point that you made about our role as the CPC in the reason that we don't have to have a public records request in that discussion with the new Inspector General. I think the co-chairs said the strategy committee, I would recommend that they meet with the Inspector General and talk about next steps on that.
So there's two things on the table. One is Lisa's suggestion that we potentially contract with somebody, a specialist in, what was it, Lisa?
EEO.
Equal opportunity, equal employment opportunity.
Right.
Maybe Colleen Knerk, or maybe we'll talk about it later.
And then the other one was for the co-chairs to sit down and make that request to the Inspector General to look at what has gone on.
We can do that at the strategy committee. She's actually going to be at that.
Okay, so we can do that second one.
A third, getting everything out on the table, all the possibilities, right? The third thing might be just continued authorization for the co-chairs and strategy and staff to follow up on discovery requests and send follow-up requests depending on the information that we receive or information that we see in media.
Absolutely.
Just to, again, I see that as a very...
Public disclosure request, I bet you get it.
I see it as sort of part and parcel of our duty as co-chairs to put the agenda together and to come to you with information already so you can all make decisions. But I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page that continues and will continue.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion at all?
Oh, I just wanted to step away from the chair to say that I agree with the proposal that Lisa has brought forth about EEOC, about the equal opportunity, because that's the main thing that Dr. Rai said is that from her professional experience, it is an EEOC equal opportunity violation in the way that this was, the way that it unfolds, and so to have somebody that's quite skilled in that, to look at that piece and be able to give recommendations, so that we would be part of being able to have that as part of our recommendations going forward if we issue a report about this, as part of that. So I'd like to I was speaking for that.
Fan and Isaac?
On the process piece related to the EEOC potential issue, maybe the request is that the commission gives strategy the opportunity to reach out or to identify potential experts in this area, and then reach out to those experts to have an initial conversation, because I think we're still waiting on some of the information that they're going to need. But at least in the interim, we could be doing work to identify who those folks could be, have initial conversation before contracting with them, and then bring it back to the next meeting where we're at in that process, and potentially maybe approving a contract, hopefully if we have information. I don't know, that's my initial thoughts.
I think just in trying to fully understand the situation, some of us might already be in informal discussions with EEO consultants in the community, myself included, for free. And I think we can probably move the process along pretty quickly. So I definitely agree with everything that's being identified so far. I also think that we know more than we sometimes know at this point. Like just from media and from our participants in the process, there's actually quite a bit that we know, enough that there are red flags there. And so with that in mind, I think that we should consider authorizing the start, once we start getting more and more information, the start of a report and draft recommendations, just to get that going. Because this is not, once we get to the bottom of things, as deep as we can possibly get, I think we're going to want to get a report to this commission as soon as possible.
Okay.
Reverend Walden, and then I have a comment.
Thank you.
Oh, I agree with, I yield to what Isaac was saying, because I was talking about that. A decision is going to be made at the end of the month, and we have to move expeditiously on this, and we already have enough information. I mean, we have had some experts speak on this already, so we already have enough information.
So I just want to also be careful. I also agree that we need to, we would need to do this, but I also want to be careful that it's not, I would be cautious that we actually formally contract, and the reason why is because I wouldn't, playing out the political game, I wouldn't want it to just come from the commission. I would want it to be an expert that we independently brought in and looked at it, and so that it has the fortitude to withstand any political critique.
Agreed.
Well, I was going to say, we can do all of these things. I'm just authorizing, or asking for the authorization that the strategy committee and staff be able to take those steps and be able to bring whatever, whether it's a draft committee, but also a contract to approve if there is a technical expert. If we need to do that prior to the next committee meeting, then or commission meeting, then we can call a special meeting to get that done. Is that okay with folks?
Can the commission that's sitting today, can we give the strategy committee that specific power right now? I would propose that we do
If there is
so.
a motion, then we can.
I will move so that the strategy committee be given the authority to hire a consultant for the EEO report.
May I suggest a motion?
It's been moved.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Do you want a friendly amendment?
Right, you gotta move it in second, it's a live motion on the floor, so it has to be moved second, and then open for discussion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded. Isaac?
I think it's a great motion. I just think that I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity. It'd be great if we could put a lot of stuff into that motion. And if there were, if there's further discussion from commissioners or staff about like the steps that we need to be thinking about, like this is a great opportunity to get those out. In community engagement work that we need to be doing, preparing for, there's just a lot of dimensions to this. There's a media dimension. There's the fact-finding dimension. So I just want to make sure that people have a chance to put in their ideas.
Okay,
Maker of the motion approves that?
any more
Second.
discussion?
Oh.
Oh,
All right, so it's,
Are you asking for more clarity in the motion,
No.
as far, or, I'm sorry.
I guess what I'm outlining is hopefully, I'm proposing that we have a little bit more discussion about globally the direction that we're taking,
Mhm,
so that then we can amend, hopefully, Jay's motion to include all of that.
okay.
Because right now, it's just about the EEO consultant,
Mhm.
and we've identified 3 or 4 things, right?
Right. The writing of a report, the beginning of that report,
Discussion of cooperation with the Inspector General.
right? And
The
third,
public disclosure request.
what?
To follow up.
Yeah, those are all
Yeah,
follow-ups.
follow-up. I will amend my motion to include those other 3.
Do you have that? I just want to be clear. Okay, I want to make sure.
so Jay has made a motion, he's accepted the amendment.
What is the motion?
I can repeat it.
Okay.
The motion is to give continued authorization to the strategy committee to, if they want, hire a consultant on, a technical expert on equal employment opportunities, to follow up on the public disclosure request to the mayor, to potentially write a report on this process,
Begin
and also
drafting.
to request a meeting with the Inspector General to look at what's happened.
Right.
Well, the legal basis of the CPC's position to request information without having to do a public records request.
Okay,
Any final report and recommendations will come through the CPC before being issued. I want to be very clear about that process, that nothing will be issued
Oh, that-
prior to a
that's
CPC.
part of the process.
No, I just want to be clear about this motion because we
Okay.
said the report and recommendations, but that's just the drafting of it. It's
Yes,
not
right, drafting.
the issuing of it.
Thank you. Okay, any more discussion on that?
Second.
If there's no more discussion, take a vote on moving forward using, or with those items that were stated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, it sounds like they were both ayes.
There were ayes for-
So it's everybody.
You were, Lisa and Claudia, were you voting for that motion?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so.
That's good.
We carry you the
So we have a process moving forward. So now it is about 3 minutes to 11. I think we can tackle maybe one quick item, but what I do want to have a hard stop at 11 out of respect for our guest, and then we can move the other items after that. Karen?
Can I propose that we do the strategy standing committee updates because I feel like they're the most, important to cover?
Oh,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Is that good with you?
Okay.
Okay.
So the staff hiring update. So I want so in your packets, you will see after the letters that the CPC sent, you will find the cover letter and resume for both Bessie Marie Scott and Sarah Mays. So they are our
They're only in commissioner
commissioner packets.
Commissioners and
And they are our 2 new hires. Bessie Scott will be our new supervisor, and she starts on June 25th, I believe. And then Sarah Mays, she's coming in as our new policy analyst, and she will be starting June 18th, I believe, which is a Monday.
I'm on the line right now. Hey.
Oh, hi, Sarah. How are you? Sarah will be joining us at our next CPC meeting. And so their information is here. We did a 2-interview process. We had roughly 300 applications for the policy and policy supervisor positions combined, and we went through interviews of 13 people for the first round, and then 5 for the second round. For the second round interviews, it was Karen, Roxana, Minty, myself, Emma, and Lisa were a part of the second round interviews, just so folks know who participated. And